The following program is brought to you by Cloudcast Media, a podcast leader in developing shows to elevate local brands, local stories, and local storytellers. Cloudcast, bringing ears and minds home.
The San Diego Union Tribune and Retirement Strategies Group present the Union Tribune Community Spotlight Show with your host, Drew Schlossberg.
I'm Drew Schlossberg of the San Diego Union Tribune, and we are pleased to have on the air with us today Wes Burke. He is the president of Emerald Scientific. Wes, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, absolutely. Talk about Emerald Scientific, what's its mission, how long you've been involved, and then, of course, we'll get knee-deep into the 6th annual conference that is going to be held. Is it in Coronado this year?
It is. It's on Coronado, returning there for the second year at the luxurious Loews. Fantastic place to spend some time in February, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Talk about the mission of the Emerald Scientific.
Okay, the elevator pitch kind of is Emerald Scientific was born out of the need to bridge a gap in the analytical cannabis space for high-quality scientific instrumentation and analytical supplies. So we started the company in late 2013, early 2014, and at that time, largely due to the stigma associated with cannabis, analytical labs that were trying to do quality testing in the cannabis space were really challenged with a lack of access to high quality products and instrumentation. So Emerald Scientific kind of came into that space as a distributor to bridge that gap between traditional analytical suppliers and the newer analytical segment of the cannabis industry. And when we started, it was really clear that one of the things that the industry suffered in addition to a lack of access to these quality products was any kind of a platform or format where the scientific minds in the cannabis space could come together and collaborate, both on analytical subjects, but on really just general science in the space as well. And that's where the Emerald Conference was born. So that first show was in 2014. We did that one in San Francisco. We had, I think, about 6 or 8 vendors and about 100 folks showed up. But the thing that became very apparent was that there was a very strong appetite for those folks to have a venue to get together and share the insights and trials and tribulations that they're experiencing in the cannabis segment or the science segment of the cannabis industry. And that's really become the theme and the motto, the highest objective that we have is to facilitate that kind of collaboration. And really, I think the Emerald Conference has become kind of the premier venue for cutting-edge science and technology in the cannabis industry.
Right, and what are the dates of the conference this year?
Yeah, so we're going to kick things off on Wednesday, February 26th. We have a charity golf tournament there to benefit the Last Prisoner Project. So it's a great way to get out, do a little networking, and contribute to a good cause. And then the show itself is Thursday and Friday, February 27th and 28th. And then we've added a networking event Saturday, February 29th as well, the Quality Summit. We've certainly noticed over the last 12 or 18 months in the industry that there's a really substantial move towards quality as the industry starts to kind of reach scale. Things like GMP are all the rage, and so we've got some speakers coming in to address the evolution towards quality on that Saturday.
Yeah, and again, so what's the website? So is this for only scientists, or if just general public is interested in some cool cannabis research, they can go talk about that?
Yeah, so the website is the emeraldconference.com or emeraldconference.com. Either will get you there. And the content is pretty scientifically oriented, and it's pretty high level. Now, I'll use myself as a great example. I'm not trained in any scientific discipline, so a lot of the stuff really does kind of elevate over my head. But it doesn't mean that it's not fantastic and enjoyable. So anybody that's getting into the cannabis industry, I think the realization that science plays a huge role in this industry is important to understand, and this conference is a great place to go, make acquaintance to some of the brightest minds when it comes to cannabis science. So I would encourage anybody, really, whether you're a scientist or not, to come check out the show. You're going to be exposed to a lot of scientific philosophies that are applicable in the space, and that I think that's whether you're an extraction artist or even a cultivator, the application for science across the life cycle of the plant is huge and getting more important all of the time. And so this conference is a great way to kind of stay on the cutting edge of what's going on. We're bringing in a lot of research and development. The agenda this year is it's over the top, really. It's incredible. When you look at the agenda, what we're seeing is that there's this really evolution in the sophistication of the content, and this is starting to kind of look more like a traditional biotech conference.
Right.
We've got genomics. We've got we're addressing the vape crisis that has made the news quite a bit over the last 6 months or so. We've got I think the leading researcher in that space, Dr. Robert Strongen, is a PhD coming out of Oregon State University, and they're doing some really great research as it relates to the safety of vaping, and we're very excited to hear his presentation and the latest developments there. We've got a molecular evaluation of cannabinoid production is another presentation. So yeah, it's pretty heady science, but it's the latest and the greatest in the space, and it's a fantastic way to stay up to date on developments as this industry continues to unfold.
Yeah, we are chatting with Wes Burke. He is the president of Emerald Scientific. They'll have their 6th annual Emerald conference with the good scientists that are in the space of cannabis and research, and I think it'll be kicking off on the 26th. I believe he said there's a golf tournament. The actual conference is the February 27th and 28th, with the Quality Summit the next day, Saturday the 29th. All is everything at Loews Coronado except for the golf?
Yeah, that's accurate, and the golf tournament is actually there on Coronado as well. So
sure,
you can book your room on Coronado and just kind of spend the end of the week and the weekend right there on lovely Coronado Island.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up something really interesting, and while there'll be some pretty heady, as you mentioned, science and presentations and all that. Obviously, unless you've been in the space station mirror or whatever, and the vaping crisis, of course, has gotten a lot of attention, as it should, and to chat about that is going to be so critical. Let me ask you this. So for, the businesses that are, whether they're in the medical marijuana field or whether they're in the, consumer, folks, obviously California just passed, you can have recreational marijuana or whatever, this area. Is this something a great benefit for them? Because they want to see what the research is saying. And I imagine this conference debunks a lot of myths about marijuana, or am I wrong on that?
Well, no, I think you're right. The reality is that we really suffer from federal prohibition has created a scenario where research on cannabis is very challenging, and that leaves us with a substantial knowledge gap And I think that the world, frankly, is scrambling to get up to speed. And there is disinformation and misinformation out there, and
Yep.
some of it, might lead users to think that there are not challenges with the plant, for example, but there are, and we know that, and we need to be honest about that. And at the
Right.
same time, the plant is we think a very miraculous plant with unbelievable untapped potential. But we need to really understand what's going on with all of the myriad compounds that make up this plant and create the efficacy across many different potentialities. And so the research is needed, and it's happening. We've got Mara Gordon is coming to do a comparison of the anti-tumor efficacy of whole plant extracts versus pure THC, and this is all from preclinical models in HER2 positive breast cancer. So I use that as an example to elucidate the specificity with which now some of the research is being done, and these are the things that are going to really lead to an improved
Right.
understanding of the potential of this plant, and that's the kind of thing that we're really excited about.
No, that's terrific. And so, Wes, when we come back from a break in a few seconds here, we'll chat more about the conference and what people can expect, how they sign up for the conference, and really want to also get into, sort of the evolution, in the cannabis industry. Things obviously been on a rocket ship ever since, sort of the passing of, some of the states that are now obviously been doing medical marijuana for a while and now casual marijuana. So when we come back, we'll chat more with Wes Burke. He's the president of Emerald Scientific on their 6th annual conference in February 26th.
Cloudcast 180. Powerful people, powerful stories, 180 seconds.
Welcome to Cloudcast 180. We're here today with the president and CEO of Father Joe's Villages. Welcome to Deacon Jim Vargas.
Thank you, Charles. Good to be with you.
We have 3 minutes. Let's hit it fast and furiously.
All
We're
right.
going to talk this morning with you about San Diego being a very expensive city, which creates a housing crisis, which is exacerbating the homeless crisis in San Diego. Let's talk about your leadership on this issue.
Sure, absolutely. We do have an affordable housing crisis here in San Diego. In fact, if you asked about the number one issue why people fall into homelessness, it's lack of affordability. And so they fall onto the streets, especially when rents go up, and rents are very expensive here. So we at Father Joe's Villages focus tremendously on housing. In fact, about 40% of our intervention is placing individuals into permanent and affordable housing. All right, so shows you the extent of what we do. And of course, there's services that go along with this, because in order for people to retain their housing, their dwellings, they have to have the services that they're necessary, whether it's mental health services or substance use disorder services, whatever that is. We have a Turning the Key initiative, whereby we will be introducing 2,000 affordable housing units into the community during the next number of years. In fact, we just closed on a deal to purchase and refurbish a motel in the South Bay area. It's going to add 83 permanent supportive housing units. Next week, we'll be closing financially on a groundbreaking that will have 14-story building, 407 units of housing as well, taking about 550 people off the street. So housing is extremely important.
Which means you're investing a lot of capital. How are you finding that capital to solve the housing crisis in San Diego for homeless folks?
90 to 95% of our funding is public funding. Various sources, whether it be from the state, it be local, county, city, municipality. So most of it is public funding. There's tax credits that are involved there. The capital stack is quite large, actually.
So you're finding the land, you're finding the capital, you're changing lives. How are you minimizing the risk of future homelessness for these clients of yours? We're
minimizing it through our services. We need to make sure that in order for them to retain the housing, that they receive the services that they need, that are holistic and are comprehensive to their specific needs.
That's fantastic. Deacon Jim, in the last 10 years, your organization has taken 11,000 folks from homelessness
to a home. So I congratulate you. Any closing thoughts for our audience?
No, that's what it's